Good morning, my beautiful kings and queens. So I hope that you guys are having a beautiful and a blessed day. We're here in Florida preparing for this little storm to come. Not worried too much, but yeah, so something just dropped in my spirit, and it was the word fresh manna. Now, when the children of Israel were coming out of their bondage, they were in Egypt. Egypt was a place where they had all of the delicacies. They had the meat. They had, they ate basically from the leftovers of the king's table, and it looked abundant. It looked abundant to eat from the leftovers of the king's and queen's table. But while they were eating from the king's and the queen's table, they were in bondage. They were in bondage. So it looked like they were being provided for, but at what cost? At what cost? They were beaten, they were abused, they were treated less than. And when the Lord said for them that it's time for you all to go into the desert, go forth, because I'm taking you into a land flowing with milk and honey. And when they wandered in the desert, the Lord provided fresh manna for them. It was provision for the day. They could only take up enough for the day. When they were in bondage, they got used to the plenty of the king's and the queen's table. So they grumbled and complained when the Lord just gave them enough for the day. Enough for the day. And they missed the fact that even though the Lord took them out of bondage, even though the Lord took them away from eating from the king's and the queen's table, he still gave them their daily bread. He still gave them enough for what they needed. The Lord said, you grab a double portion for the Sabbath. So he would align them with their double portion for the Sabbath. He would align them each and every day with enough to carry them through. So my thing is, when the provision of the Lord changes, do we grumble and complain like the Israelites because they got so used to the meat of bondage that they could not see the provision that God was sending down from them, the manna from heaven that he was raining down to make sure that they did not go hungry? Okay, so they complained, and they still wanted meat. They wanted the fullness of their captors. They wanted the fullness that they were so used to while they were in bondage. They could not see that the Lord not only is taking them out of bondage, but he is still providing for their daily needs. He's still providing for their daily needs in the desert, but they were on their way to their abundance. They were on their way to a land flowing with milk and honey, and they started to complain. So I'm asking you today, when the Lord changes his strategy in your life, when the Lord changes the way that he provides for you on a daily basis, are you going to complain, or are you going to worship God for the manner that he is providing you in the desert? Or will you be like the ungrateful that still complained about, oh, we're tired of manna, oh, we're tired, we want meat, we want the meat of our bondage, we want quail, the Egyptians used to give us quail. And they missed the miracle. They missed the miracle of God's provision. They missed the miracle of God's sustenance because they were still thinking about the time that they were in bondage. And when they were in bondage, their belly was full. So a lot of times when God calls you out of your bondage, when God calls you out of the land of the Egyptians, it's going to require for you to have faith. It is going to require for you to trust his provision. It is going to require for you not only to trust it, but for you to be grateful for today's daily bread. Because while he's not providing as he was in Egypt, he is still making sure that you are not hungry. He is still making sure that your needs are met in the desert. But check that out. They were in the desert, but the Lord was was leading them and guiding them to a place that was flowing with milk and honey. So when you are in your transition period and things look dry, when you are in your transition period and it looks like, God, I'm missing the meat of Egypt, God, I'm missing the way you used to provide, still glorify God, because the promise ahead is greater than what you are leaving. Your Canaan land is going to be greater than your bondage of Egypt. Your Canaan land is the land flowing with milk and honey. Your Canaan land is the land of your promises. The desert is only the transition period. So don't miss the mark when you're in the desert. Don't miss the mark when God is still providing for you in the desert. Your shoes are not wearing out. You are not hungry. He's still providing your daily bread. Don't miss that. Don't continue to complain, because Canaan land is right around the corner. Canaan land is right around the corner. That's why I miss you. Like in Jamaica, we watch night service or whatever. We used to sing this song. Don't stand in my way. Don't stand in my way. I'm on my way to Canaan land. I said, don't stand in my way. So what is standing in your way right now of you reaching to your Canaan land? Sometimes it's ungratefulness. Sometimes it's the fact that you cannot see the provision that God is providing for you in the desert. You are being ungrateful. So when God has you in the desert, when he shifts the way he provides, when he shifts the way that he takes care of you, instead of complaining about the meat of Egypt, look forward and say, God, you are taking me to Canaan land. You are taking me to a land flowing with milk and honey. You are taking me in to possess the land. You are taking me in to defeat the giants. Don't complain about the manna that he's given you, because guess what? Your belly full. Guess what? Is he not providing for you still? Yes. So learn to appreciate the manna of your desert. Learn to appreciate the manna that rains down for you on a daily basis, even though it's not